We will get to the normal hijinks in a second that you expect with your Sports Monday offerings. But before, Stugotz, we get into the silliness, a dollop of colonialism and genocide. When you Exterminate All the Brutes is a documentary on HBO Max. I encourage you to watch, by the director of I Am Not Your Negro. It's 4 parts. Raoul Peck did it and narrates it and talks about many things, but one of them is what weaponry was used for, what it was created for, how the history of weaponry. And I just don't want to get into our Monday of playoff fun and frolicking without mentioning in heartbreaking tone, like that the mass shooting in Buffalo, and not just Buffalo, you got California, you got Houston, these things can't become and can't be normalized no matter how much they happen. And so just a moment to reflect on that, just because you got 3 this weekend and they happen so often that you're just sort of like, okay, this is now where we live. This was not ever intended to be the use of these weapons, but in some ways it was. And so I encourage you to watch Exterminate All the Brutes if you want to be a little more informed about just things going on in this country as people protect the power that is used to being in power. Moving on to lighter and sillier matters, Stugotz, because the basketball and the hockey has been a great deal of fun. And I think I can say this without being knee-jerk. I've never seen what happened to Phoenix in Game 7. It's not something I have ever seen in basketball, a team spit up on itself like that.
Right.
And turn the conversation today very easily. I understand how it happens, that it's Devin Booker's a star when they win, credit to Devin Booker, and when they lose, it's Chris Paul. Chris Paul, you never win, Chris Paul. So Patrick Beverley is now on Get Up, and this is what he just had to say. He said, Chris Paul can't guard anybody, man. Everyone in the NBA knows that. You know those cones in the summer that you dribble around? What does the cone do? Nothing. He's a cone. It's just that y'all don't want to accept that. Give him the Ben Simmons slander, end quote.
I mean, is he wrong in what he's saying? And Chris Paul was terrible in that series. I get what you're saying about Devin Booker, okay? He's a superstar. He's younger. He's got to do better than he did in that Game 7, but so does Chris Paul. And that's the problem with Chris Paul. Will he praise on him when he has one of those magical games, 14 of 14, but then he does what he did last night, and it seems like everyone wants to give him a pass. And to me, that's just ridiculous. He's not one of the 5 greatest point guards. That's always been my objection. He's just not. I'm sorry.
But can we just pause for a second on what we saw yesterday? You play all season to have that game at home.
Yes.
That series was all whoever's at home wins by 30 points. The other team doesn't have a chance. To have that lead at halftime and to never bounce back in any way, to score 20, that offense, 27 points at the half.
Embarrassing.
When you said 2 weeks ago, Dallas doesn't have anybody. Like 2 weeks ago, and they do. Luka, the Beluga whale that you want to, like, he's as good as anyone playing basketball. But that sport does not produce surprises like that ever.
No.
Not like that. That game. If I go into that game and I say to you, Dallas wins in 7, do you expect it? You're like, well, no, but maybe at the buzzer or maybe late in a close game. Not that. Like, that never happens in that sport. A totally predictable sport. Like, it's not random like baseball, like football, like hockey. This would have been 1-2, 1-2 in the finals. These would have been the best teams in the finals. But if you're ever going to accuse a team of choking, have at it.
Yeah.
Because that was unbelievable to see them be that incompetent in a game that mattered at home.
They were 32-9 at home, 32-9 on the road. They're a great team. That game, that series never should have arrived at Game 7, to be honest.
Dallas is really good. The second half of the season, Dallas was Boston kind of good.
I know, but it arrived at Game 7. The Suns, not just Chris Paul, all of them were dreadful, but Chris Paul certainly stands out for me. The other thing
Devin
we never
Booker should too, Stugotz.
He
I mean,
does.
I think
He
he's
does.
hurt. He's got to be hurt. He's the star of that team, Stugotz. I watched.
Well, that's convenient.
Stugotz,
He's hurt now.
Stugotz,
I
but I
mean,
watched
Well, he did miss games in the previous
Stugotz,
series.
I watched
I
that
think
team.
he had Chris Paul at the end of the game looking at his hand on the bench. Like, that's like a golfer plays a bad round, stares at his equipment. I'm sorry, it's not your hand.
I'm more on your side here. He was dealing with an injury, but what happened last night wasn't about Devin Booker being hobbled. You mentioned that you've never seen that before. It's actually tied for the fourth biggest blowout in Game 7 history. However, I haven't seen that happen on the road. The Miami Heat and Hornets, remember the purple shirt guy theory?
Mike,
series?
I was doing
that was a Game 7 that had a big blowout.
They're at home.
Yeah,
I've
never seen that. The Mavericks, it's
64 games.
It is actually not the biggest Game 7 blowout in Mavericks history. In 2005, the Mavericks blew out the Rockets in a Game 7 by 40 points, but that was at the Dallas Mavericks home arena. I have never seen it happen on the road.
The other thing we never do, and I'm glad you brought it up, is Luka had an all-time series. And it looks like he's going to be an all-time player. I'm not certain he's 25 yet. And he had an all-time series.
You have to prepare for a couple of things that have changed in basketball. One is the internationalization of all of this is going to make it so that more and more guys like this start appearing in this sport. But the other thing is, because Mike and I were talking about this before the show, it's crazy to think how young Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are, given that they've already played a slew of Game 7s. Like they've already played so many games that you have seen, and remember, they haven't won a lot of them, or they haven't done the hugely memorable things that people associate with Game 7s, but they're just starting their career. Like, it's weird to see Jason Tatum at around the age of 25 have like all the Celtics playoff records for anyone that age, like you eclipsing Bird and everyone else. You're going to have to start getting used to the idea that guys are going to be around, because Mike was talking about the idea that Ekblad is somehow younger than De'Aaron King.
What?
Aaron Ekblad, who's played his professional hockey career in Florida.
Right.
This is now his 8th season as a Florida Panther.
Come on.
He is 6 months older than De'Aaron King.
He's a cagey vet. I mean,
you're going to have to get used to the idea that Jason Tatum's going to be here for 10 years fighting these things out, slugging it out with Giannis. Like, you get to in real time see what these things look like that they are now making Winning Time about, and Apple documentaries with Magic that pass for nostalgia. You're getting to live it right now as an exhausted Giannis is showing you something on a court statistically where you're like, how is any of that possible? And you're seeing him. He's dragging him as much as he can, but he can't. He falls to his knees at the end. He's got nothing. There's nothing left in the tank. All of the last 2 years when he recovers from a knee injury in the finals that we thought would have been the end. And Stugotz, if that had been the injury, you'd still be out here questioning whether Giannis could win or not.
I would, yes.
If that injury had befallen him, you'd still. There are so many good players right now, Stugotz, fighting for the throne, but these games kind of stink.
They do. Yeah.
That you keep getting these 20 and 30 point games when you want some tension. You want Tatum to have to go after Giannis 1-on-1, top of the key. Give me something late in the game that I got to watch and be interested in.
Now, that series had some great games and some great moments. It did. The Suns-Mavericks series was dreadful. There was not a close game of the 7. Not one.
Most of the basketball playoffs have had a lot of, I'm telling you, when you start making it these 53 games, when Boston can shoot more threes in a game than they've ever shot, and make more threes in a playoff game than they ever got, and Milwaukee goes 4 of 33.
Yeah, no, you've changed my perception of that, because I didn't really know that the blowouts were a thing. And then you highlighted it, and outside of this series prior to Game 7, the Celtics-Bucks series, you're dead on. The games have not been interesting. It's a polar opposite of how the clinching games in the hockey first round went.
But all the more surprising to me, because I expected Phoenix to win by 1,000 points last night.
I think everyone
because
did.
of everything.
Yeah.
Because of the way that everything went in that series, I'm telling you, I have not seen a halftime a whole lot. Charles Barkley gets paid to speak, is very good at it, has done it for 40 years. He's staring at the camera. He looked dumbfounded. Like, he looked, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah.
And Mike says it's because he was counting on Western Conference Finals games near his home in Phoenix. But it was that kind of dumbfounding. If you've been watching basketball all your life, that first half in that game make no sense.
It was shocking.
I was surprised just because it was a home team at Game 7. That game was over by the second quarter. I was shocked at how how that did. I thought how that went. I thought it was going to be a really good competitive game because I've been paying attention to the Mavericks the second half of the season. People try to dismiss the Heat and their number 1 overall seed saying, hey, they were only as good as the Mavericks were in the second half of the season. I'm like, that's because the Mavericks have been really freaking good. And it's an old school. It is kind of watching how the Celtics went through Larry Bird, or how the Mavericks went through Dirk, or how the Bucks were doing their damage early on in Game 7.
Right.
The best player has to touch the ball every goddamn time you go down the court for you to have a shot. And dude was flatly unstoppable.
He always
Amazing.
is.
His
Yes.
comps in the postseason, it's him and Jordan
Yeah.
so far.
It's crazy.
When you take into consideration his age and his efficiencies, he is at the Jordan tier.
He's 23. I said I don't think he's 25. He's not 24.
What I'm telling you guys is this is how it happens. Michael Jordan fell on his neck for many years at the feet of these teams. The Warriors, the Memphis Grizzlies say out loud, Dylan Brooks is saying, they're old, we're young, we're coming. And the Warriors are like, not yet. Here you go, Luka. Like here, he hadn't won a playoff series. And now the stories start because you're like, you go out, Game 7, Chris Paul, say what you will about him. He takes out in Game 7 a guy with 17 years of experience. Devin Booker, not yet. My turn. I'm going to be the one that now they talk about in this next round. Oh, these are Jordan numbers. And now we got to feed the machine in the playoffs. These are the 4 best teams. Now it's going to be Luka, because who else are we going to talk about on the Mavericks? You could talk about Brunson and max contracts, but he's their star, clearly delineated, and he's coming for the things that are at the top of the sport. I think I can make the argument that the Dallas Mavericks are the worst team remaining in these playoffs, but have the best player.
Depends.
Steph Curry.
Steph.
I mean,
You still probably have to.
Tatum.
I'll tell you, if I'm starting a team right now, it's easy. I go Luka over Steph.
I'm not saying age starting a team right now because I need it to be
I think
young. I'm
Luka-
saying I got a game
Luka is the best
tomorrow.
player,
I got a
yes.
game
Of the
tomorrow.
4 teams remaining.
I will concede. Luka's the best player right now.
But Boston and Miami are all defense. Boston and Miami will make that look more difficult. But first, it's Golden State. It's the old heads who we're used to seeing around the throne.
It has to be Luka or Al Horford, right? I mean, has to be. Dan, you always
or Grant Williams
or Grant Williams, who was great. You always wonder like who's next, what's going to happen next, because LeBron's going to be out in a couple of years, and you're like, how can the league possibly replace LeBron James? But he'll be out completely.
Yeah.
And how could the league? I thought this when Jordan was coming to an end. Like, how is the league going to replace this? And they did with LeBron James. And then you start to wonder towards the end of LeBron's career, how are they going to replace this? And they are. With Luka, with Tatum, with Giannis, with Booker,
Stugotz, I will
with
say,
Morant.
I wonder, future of the sport stuff, if you start stacking some things on top of each other and I don't make any of these games close and then I start internationalizing the sport more and more, where Jokic is a star, clearly, but Denver has no national reverberations as a team, even though they've got a star on it. If I keep making the guys more and more international, if I keep trying to placate customer bases that get uncomfortable with some of the social. You've seen all of that stuff kind of vanish from basketball, right? You haven't seen a whole lot of activism, and there are plenty of people who would make the argument that the activism during that time did not serve the NBA in just putting off people who were looking for a reason to be put off by the NBA. If I start making these all 30-point game sevens, and not close games that don't have any of this dramatic tension, I'm putting something in front of the customer base that is vastly less interesting than hockey's playoffs.
I mean, hockey's playoffs have always been more interesting.
Yes.
And I was watching, even though I actually like their game presentation, maybe it's because my team's in it in the second round for the first time in 26 years, but being on ESPN matters. I think Turner has also helped elevate the NHL. I'm very curious to see what the numbers say, because the NHL went away to die for a couple of years, it felt like, when it signed that deal with Versus and then NBC. And it wasn't mattering. It wasn't covered at all by ESPN because they didn't have the rights. And now you can kind of see what a legacy media partner that is on 24 hours a day can do.
Helps so much.
It
It
really
really
does.
does. You had 2 Game 7s in hockey yesterday, 2 Game 7s in the NBA. You'll forget the Game 7s in the NBA, but the Game 7s in hockey were amazing. Like the Rangers are down 3-2, end of the third period. They get a goal, they win in overtime at home. And then I think Calgary, same thing, down 3-2 late, tie it up, and they win in
all the
overtime.
games are
I've
like
never
that.
heard an arena so loud
Crazy.
on TV as I heard Madison Square Garden
Nuts.
after that overtime win.
Yeah.
An unbelievable sound. But also, like, to your point, Dan, the Rangers-Penguins game started at 7. The Mavericks-Suns game started at 8. The Mavericks-Suns game ended quicker. It was done at halftime. I could flip over to TBS and watch the end of that Rangers game because it was a miles better game, but a lot of this stuff always comes down to discussion points because pure sporting drama, pure sporting theater is always, it takes a backseat to storyline. And I think hockey has always gotten the storyline bit wrong where, like, yeah, I know the Rangers and the Penguins mean something as franchises, but I honestly don't know what is the storyline between those two teams. Someone texted me, who are you rooting for? And I just said hockey.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for hockey to happen in this series.
And it happened all over the place.
Right. Hockey is happening everywhere.
Everywhere.
You
But,
refer to some of the players by their jersey numbers because, like, if Dan's making the argument for Jokic and Luka to be hard for people to connect to in this country, try hockey.
Right? Kuznetsov.
All I know is you don't want to see Carolina in a Game 7. That's all I know. You want to see Toronto, and you don't want to see Carolina. That's what I know about hockey.
I don't think anybody wants to see Tampa either. In the middle of all of this, Billy is wondering, as hockey and basketball break out, and I asked the question, please put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Billy, do you wish a little more hockey would break out during basketball? Because these basketball games need some of these overtimes. Come on, I want one of those Kevin Durant, Giannis games from last year. Give me one of these blow-by-blow games where you're scared at the end. Everyone's scared, and you're just rooting. All you're rooting for is for sports to be great.
I do think we're going to get – we saw what two great defenses mean for these matchups, and you got fewer blowouts in the Boston-Milwaukee series. And I do think you're going to see that really tight games in the Miami-Boston series are always so evenly matched. So I think that's going to be a compelling series. And my hot take is Dallas makes for a better series against Golden State than Phoenix does. You would have had so many of those blowouts because they play that style where look at their margin of victory. When those teams have it cooking, they run teams off the court. I think Dallas makes for a more interesting opponent.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but you lose what Woody was talking about, that storyline of Chris Paul trying to win his first title, right? That storyline's got, now it's Luka. Right,
yeah,
now
we're
it's
here
Luka.
for a European Jordan.
Yeah.
In the middle of this, though, Billy is watching Reds Pirates.
Oh, Reds Pirates. You see what happened yesterday? There was too many Game 7s, okay? Like, enough with there was like 7 Game 7s this
Getting
weekend.
watered down.
Just too many Game 7s. Also, like, we don't need 4 days off between every game. That's, for another day, but basketball in particular, okay? I wish Tony was here. Real hoopers know. You can play 4 basketball games back to back to back at the park. You know
They've
what I
been
mean?
playing
Like,
every other day, Billy. This is
Nah,
a
but it
fairly
feels
tight
like
schedule.
4. Yeah, it feels like 4.
you can play 3 or 4 pickup games in a day in basketball. We don't need to be taking 4 days off in between and travel days. Don't get me started.
Little day-night doubleheader? Is that what you're thinking?
Wow.
How about that? Yeah.
I was trying to get you started on Reds Pirates.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
we're not getting to the other stuff I was telling you. Reds Pirates, you see what happened yesterday, Dan? Did you see what happened?
I did.
There was a no-hitter, and the team lost that pitched the no-hitter. Do you think they celebrate that?
They should. I mean,
Should they?
yeah.
I think so too, right? Because you celebrate all these no-hitters. It's like a big accomplishment. That's just the Reds. I mean, the Reds are so bad.
They're
this
9
year.
and 26.
They
the Reds
pitched a
are.
no-hitter, and they lost the game.
To the Pirates.
To the Pirates. Lewis is looking at me, and he's saying, how? Good question, Lewis. This is what happened. Walk. Fielder's choice. And that was the bottom of the 8th inning. Then the Buccos came up. Boom. Got out the Redbirds. No, not the Redbirds. The
Just
Redlegs.
the Reds.
No, the Redlegs is
Red Stockings.
No, the guy's is Redlegs. Their mascot. We're getting caught up here.
We
it doesn't
are.
matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
The,
So they
the
lose
Red
the
Sox
game.
Red
are in
machine.
Boston.
Yeah, Red Sox. Yeah.
No, they didn't throw a 9-inning no-hitter, right? Because they were the road team.
Yeah.
So
It was more than one pitcher too, so that's a whole nother story that we can get to another day too. We don't need to talk about combined no hitters versus regular no hitters.
You did have a guy throw 114 pitches. I mean, it's a lot of pitches.
You think they should have gone in the clubhouse and celebrated on the field?
No,
How do you have
like
this
the
happening?
team. Like the team will always like sell like the ticket stub of the no-hitter. There'll be like a bobblehead to commemorate the no-hitter or whatever, like years down the road. But this feels like a forgotten no-hitter in the history of the Reds, right? Wouldn't you think?
It's hard to lose a no-hitter, and there haven't been many throughout history that
I think there's been
lost.
6 or 7 teams that have done it, which is a lot more than
But
I thought.
I want to talk more about how you have this happening, because I'm with you. There's very little that has been devalued more in sports than in general the no-hitter. We used to break into programming. If someone had a no-hitter in the 8th or 9th inning.
Well, but that's because now each team plays 27 pitchers, and they only need to get 1 out each. You know what I mean? So it's not that hard. when
And
you're doing it
baseball
that way.
doesn't matter that way
Whoa.
anymore, any of it.
Jeez.
But you want what to happen. So you've got the Reds. The Reds have
Very offended
Red
by
legs,
that.
yeah.
the Pirates score 1 run in the bottom of the 8th, and now the Pirates lead 1-0 headed to the top of the 9th.
Having gotten no hits.
No hits.
Yeah.
And now they need only 3 outs to get. So the last batter makes an out, and now you have the Reds flooding the field from the dugout to celebrate with their pitcher.
Well, no,
Or do
the
you-
team that got no hit, that didn't get a hit, is celebrating on the field after getting no hit.
What's more impressive, losing the game while giving up no hits or winning that game? I think the more impressive feat was what Cincinnati did.
I want to get to
They
the
should have been celebrated.
I want to get to the celebrate. I want to know how you have this physically being celebrated on the court, in the clubhouse, on the field, I should say. Like, what do you have happening?
The pitchers need to buy the catcher something, right? And they need to buy like gifts for the defenders that made the good plays,
But
correct?
do you have the bullpen spilling out onto the field to
do you
surround
have
the pitcher?
a public celebration, or you just want a thank you, a private thank you?
No, I'm trying to. I was more kind of wondering what the Reds would do down the road, because this past weekend down here in Miami, I don't know how many people are aware of this. Probably not many, because it was more of a local thing. They celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Marlins winning the World Series.
I wanted
in
to talk to
1997.
you about that. The 1997 Marlins.
Let's talk, man. Let's do it.
Well, I saw Antonio Alfonseca in the stands wearing his actual jersey, and I'm like, okay,
And
that's
pants, full uniform. Yeah, and he was dancing, putting on a
love
show.
that.
From 97.
Maybe that'll come up in funniest thing. Who knows?
You're wearing Alfonseca. You're wearing your jersey so that everyone knows you're a 97 Marlin who had 6 fingers on each hand.
How else would they know? I mean,
Oh, everybody knows El Pulpo.
El
He's a
Pulpo.
legend down here. Get out of town.
Mike, do you have the musical rights to El Pulpo?
John
Not
Cangelosi,
live
I can
on YouTube, Dan,
understand.
I don't.
Angie.
I did enjoy the 97 World Series celebration.
Yeah.
I even watched a pregame softball game.
Oh,
with-
were you watching that?
Yeah, there was a guy that looked just like Dan. And you know what it was? It was the shoes. It
Yeah.
was the shoes that made me
Really?
think it might have been Dan, because it would have made sense that Dan would be hanging around with all of his old 97 Marlins friends because he covered that team.
I believe those were sponsors that were playing. I think that's what they said at some point during the broadcast. Who, by the way, the sponsors that were playing, very look at me Louis on all of them. One of them diving, doing these whole things, trying to hit the ball super far, like trying to show up the world champion Florida Marlins from
What are you?
1987.
Like if you're in the outfield
They're like
during a celebrity
60-year-old
soft,
men.
like I would go for a diving
Nah.
snag in right center field.
Was that one moment where Gary Sheffield kind of flirted with the notion of hitting the entire softball game, and then he finally gave the crowd
Yeah.
what they wanted.
In sandals, slides.
Yeah, the bag,
No
the
socks.
bat wiggle and everything.
Yeah.
Got a hit. Someone else ran for him.
Yeah. Well, but he had a golf
Yeah.
injury. He told us. That's why he wasn't playing originally, golf injury. You know what I mean? It was a real Kirk Gibson moment, I would say. Wouldn't you?
What were the highlights of the 97 Marlins reunion?
Oh, Jim Leland was talking about the state of current pitching. We have that sound if you want to get to it. Dan, if I were to tell you, guess how Jim Leland feels about the way pitchers are used today, how do you think he feels about that?
I'm guessing that he doesn't like it very much.
I know the day-to-day grind may not be for you right now to manage again, but just the brand of baseball that we're seeing right now, shifts and 3 true outcomes with the homers and the walks and the strikeouts. Is that something that Jim Leland could get behind as a manager?
Well, I could do whatever I had to do. I would make whatever adjustment I had to make. But I'm not necessarily thinking the game is better now. I don't think it is. I love the long ball like everybody does, but too many strikeouts, too many walks, too many pitches being thrown, not enough starting pitchers going deep into games. Pitchers are supposed to pitch, and your best bullpen is a 7-inning starter. Don't ever believe anything else. I mean, because you can rest your bullpen, you can pitch them when you want to. If you're using your bullpen because you want to and not because you have to, then you got something going. If you're using it because you have to all the time, it's no good. I believe pitchers are supposed to. They got on me in Detroit and said, you're pitching Scherzer and Verlander too much. Well, Scherzer's making $43 million this year at 39, and Verlander's making $50 million for 2 years. They're still pitching. Pitchers are supposed to pitch.
That is
guy knows baseball.
courtesy Bally Sports Florida.
He dropped the bona fides.
Bona fides.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned Scherzer, who had a great moment. I don't know if you saw this week. And
What an asshole. Sorry.
What's the matter with him? I mean,
Displaying the behavior of an asshole.
You guys, did you see what he did?
nah.
Someone was supposed to throw out the ceremonial first pitch, and Scherzer decided to race him to the mound and just start warming up. So they then took the person off the field and didn't let the person throw the ceremonial first pitch.
I love that.
No, please.
Intensity.
Get out of
That's
here.
what he's all about, Scherzer.
And,
He's my Scherzer now.
Him and Sale too much. Remember when
Chris Sale hasn't pitched in years.
Remember when Chris Sale decided he wanted to cut up uniforms because he didn't like what they looked like, and then they had to change what uniforms they wore that day? It's too much. It's too much.
Scherzer, for those who do not know,
Less intensity, Scherzer, okay? I mean, you're in the twilight of your career. I don't want to be the one to tell you, but, you're on the Mets now, okay? Let's just, calm down. Let's just kind of slowly make our way into retirement. Let's not hurt ourselves so we can, play and do all those things that you want to do with your grandkids down the road and not injure your arm. Just take it down a couple notches.
What was so offensive to you? I did not know that he sprinted out to beat the honorary first pitch thrower. I may
have made that up.
I thought I thought he was warming up. The first pitch thrower came out, and he was not. He was in the zone of whatever intimidating place he has to get to mentally, and so he was. They basically shooed off the honorary first pitch thrower.
It's not his first game. He knows how it goes. National anthem, first pitch, all that stuff. The pomp and circumstance to go with a Saturday start, whatever it was, right? Just let the person throw their first pitch. This is going to be the most exciting moment for that person for their weekend, if not for years to come. Let them throw out the first pitch. They'll probably bounce it, whatever. It'll take 2 seconds. Whatever warm-up pitches happen between then and when the game starts are not going to make a difference for Scherzer. And he's going to get his pitches in, and the game's going to start maybe a minute later. What's the big deal, Max?
If the currency of the time is fame, why not have the viral moment? You get more famous from Max Scherzer shooing you away than you do throwing out another first pitch at just another ball game, right? People are talking about.
So
this,
he did him a favor?
No, I'm just asking if what you want is the bump in fame. What do you want? Just to throw the pitch accurately, or just the bump in fame that comes from being at the center of the spectacle?
What bump in fame? Who knows who that person even is? You just throw the first pitch. You think they're going to ask? They should invite that person back to do it again.
I'm sure
in fact,
they will.
This is what I'm inviting that person here to throw out a first pitch before a show one day. I'm not paying for it, but person, if you're listening, you can come. You can throw out a ceremonial first pitch before we do a show one day. How about that?
What a heartwarming invitation, Billy.
That's from the bottom of my heart.
Right in the alley back there near the mattress that's by the dumpster, you're going to have him throw out the first pitch? All right,
We can do
excellent.
it down the hall or by the bathroom with the mirrors.
Did you see that, Whittingham? There was a mattress
Why
back
was
there.
there a
I don't
mattress
know.
there?
I had so many
Covered in
questions.
all sorts of.
Yeah, all sorts of is right.
Mm-hmm.
There was a mattress in the alley. I don't know why, but there are any number of things. I want to start a new feature that is in South Florida. Just
How does
how did
one
this
mattress
get here?
have so much jizz on it? I'm just saying
What?
it was so much, just covered in jizz.
or sauces of some kind.
No, I know jizz when I see it. Put it on the poll. Do you
Wow.
know jizz
Yeah, I
when
took
you
a
see it?
picture of it. It's so foul, so disgusting. I had to take a picture of it just to.
I
Like
thought-
an amber hue to it. It's
I
strange.
believe that somebody is trying to get us to
that's
move. I believe people are planting things around us, trying to physically get us to repel us, to move out of this
Show
area.
Lewis. Show Lewis.
Hold on a sec. I lost it. Hold on a sec. Here you go.
Yeah, it's pee-pee juice.
No, it's jizz.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every mattress at every hotel looks like that, right? Just underneath sheets. You just don't know. And if it doesn't look like that, just flip it over and it looks like that.
You think brown stains? You think
Oh,
that
yeah.
most hotels have
You
mattresses
have no
that
idea
are
what's under
covered?
those sheets, Dan.
Mhm.
No idea.
And I don't want to either. You know what I mean? Out of sight, out of mind.
It gives you the comfort of staying in a hotel room and feel like this is a clean bed. I look forward to my clean bed at the end of a long day in Orlando, and yet God knows what's under there.
You guys are of the belief that if I stay in any hotel, it looks like the mattress that Stugotz
Yes.
just showed me on
Well,
his phone, which had
Maybe
like,
not that one.
It looked like a map of Lake Okeechobee in terms
Yeah,
of what the
right.
staining of it
that one
was.
had so much DNA on it that I'm surprised it didn't reanimate.
Hold on. That one's been out in the rain and stuff for days, though.
Correct.
You know,
Yes.
like that one's got in the elements.
I'm not certain
No,
if it's still there.
somebody got
Yeah.
rid of it this weekend. I'd been saying hello to it for a week. Hello, sad mattress.
After it started growing teeth.
Stugotz, yesterday I wanted to talk to you guys about something that has become a running joke, and if you want really insightful and good coverage of it, I encourage you to listen to Basketball Illuminati because they do a better job covering some of the stuff going on in basketball than most people doing it. But again yesterday, as happened a couple of times during this postseason, the NBA referee, Scott Foster, was trending because a lot of people were making Scott Foster jokes. And as we run off Ridley in football to overpunish him because gambling is coming and it's normalized, but we can't have it anywhere near our games, can't have it too close, we're gonna punish Calvin Ridley for a year for doing something that everyone says, well, that's pretty harmless. No, it's not. We're going to be tough on gambling. Basketball plays these important games all the time with the name of a referee trending that has a huge credibility problem and is, at best, hugely biased, at worst, contaminated and corrupt. This is a guy who was linked to Donaghy. They told us that was a lone operative. That may have been a lone operative, but man, it was convenient to file it as a lone operative. And here's this other guy, Scott Foster, where Harden's like 1-13 against him, and Chris Paul is 0-14, and the only win that Harden's got over him is the one over Chris Paul. And I just ask you, is this a joke? Like, are we just going to joke with the name Scott Foster? Because my guess is you're going to cluck with a good deal of outrage if you find out something. If you know that one of these results in one of these close games was contaminated by somebody that we all sort of wink and are like, hey, is this guy for real? Is this a real thing? Like, isn't that a problem? He disappeared for non-COVID related illness after game 2 in one of the series. But when I have someone who's linked in phone calls to Donaghy, the disgraced referee, does the audience care at all?
I mean, the audience will care once it's a bigger story, once something is proven. I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of evidence that would suggest.
No. I don't know that there. No, if there is evidence to suggest anything, he would not.
134 phone calls between Scott Foster and Tim Donaghy, but I don't know.
We don't know what those calls were.
Right.
Well, I don't know.
Tag,
I think
maybe.
I don't know what's normal. What's a normal amount? That doesn't seem, by 2022 standards, that seems like a lot of phone calls because we text nowadays. But back then, if you're on the road and you're a part of a referee crew, that might be normal.
But the thing that I'm asking you guys is inevitably one of these games is going to be close, and you cannot have questions about the integrity of the result or the integrity of the objective judges that you're paying to be both objective and in charge of the judgment. And I think Scott Foster is laughably looked at with a wink on like, hey, this guy might be. But what do I have to do to present a level of concern to you? Do I have to cost your team a game? Do I have to have a call?
You have to cost your team a game and prove that it was Scott Foster's fault.
Yeah. And there's a Chris Mannix story that says it's 304 phone calls from December 2006 to April 2007. I also have to look it up, but I think that there's like a godson relation between the two of them.
Can you have this around your sport is what I'm saying.
It's always been around the sport, though, hasn't it? It feels like it's been around the sport for a while
what
now.
What you don't have around the sport is a disgraced NBA official linked to this guy, and this guy's name is the one. This is the one that everyone looks at and is like, this name, I'm not sure how pure this is. Angel Hernandez is incompetent in baseball. He is not associated or might alter the result of this game with his biases. It's better to do it with your incompetence, Stugotz, than to alter the game with your incompetence than with your integrity or your lack of objectivity or your biases.
Tim Donaghy is the godfather to one of Scott Foster's 3 children.
But wouldn't Scott Foster continuing to get high-profile assignments almost suggest that he is very competent? That in the grading system that the NBA uses for their referees, that even despite this optics problem that they have, which is that there are certain statistical gambling oddities,
which the NBA knows about, by the way.
Right, of course they do. With a few of the league's biggest stars, And yet I feel like every big playoff game has Scott Foster in charge of it. I guarantee you he will referee at least one game in the NBA Finals. It's strange that he continues to get these assignments despite the optics problem, which to me would suggest that based off of whatever grading system they have, he's probably a really good official. It's just that the NBA has always had these celebrity officials that become characters for whatever reason. It was Joey Crawford, Dick Bavetta. These guys are, Tony Brothers as well, where it's just like these guys that you just know they're on every big game. The commentators say their name, you recognize their face, you recognize their histrionics, and they become celebrities in a weird way.
Yeah,
I don't
only
think
soccer has that.
Yeah,
only soccer has it to the level that the NBA does. The NFL is so massive, and even that sport's officials aren't as famous as NBA officials.
You love a good grading system, don't you?
I do.
I know.
I wish I was in charge of that rubric. I wish I could determine the rubric. I wish I knew what the rubric was.
How do you feel about curves in the grading system?
Not for me.
Nah.
You get what you deserve on a test.
Stugotz, Patrick Beverley continues on Get Up. They are riding him into the sun. He just continues.
I've seen good reviews for him.
Well, he's just scorching.
They took their first commercial in 45 minutes.
Well,
I mean, he is going bananas right now.
He's killing Chris Paul.
Yes.
Do I go to bed at 10 p.m. the night before playing Chris Paul? Hell no. But if I'm playing Steph Curry tomorrow, I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock, telling my girl not to call me. He says the Suns should have benched Chris Paul instead of DeAndre Ayton. They benched the wrong person. They should have benched Chris.
That's my guy. I mean, finally, someone sees it the way I do.
The Ayton thing was weird for Monty to come out after the game and said that it was something internal. That's why he only played, 17 minutes?
The whole thing was weird, Mike. All of it.
That's
the
one of
game was over after a quarter.
That's the biggest home court blowout Game 7 history.
Ayton, Booker, and Paul were a combined 1 of 15 at halftime. It's astounding. The Booker part of it in particular for me, because it's billed as Luka versus Booker.
But that's hurt. He's got to be hurt, right? Like he's got to
They're
be.
two different players. I think Booker flatly cannot do the things that Luka does. He's a total complete offensive
No, but
player.
I don't think you watched this. This was not the playoffs happening to Devin Booker. I don't think you've been watching. That team was overwhelming this year. Like it was not asinine or absurd to say Devin Booker was in an MVP conversation. He'd have to get anyone's consideration, top 5, 6, or 7 guys, and 3 for 14. Get out of here. Like good. That's not how he plays. He's faster than everybody.
Not sexy because Luka isn't this great defender, but the Mavericks defense was also really good. I don't really have an explanation for why that game went the way that it did. I knew Dallas was good headed into it. I liked their chances headed into it. That was like a spaceship landing on the court.
Booker was 9 of 31 last 2 games. So, but why does he get the benefit of injury? Devin Booker's not good, so he's injured.
He was out though.
I know he came back. He scored 28 points in Game 5. He was great in that game.
But Stugotz, people coming back and being diminished. You say 28 points. That was Devin Booker's average game this season. Like you're.
But Dan, it was a blowout. They won by 30 points. He was 11 of 20. He had 28 points. He had 35 the day before.
Luka's also banged up. He missed games in the previous series. Injury, when they're out there on the court, I hate the injury narrative around series. And that's not just the Heat fan bias because he can't get credit because they beat a team with a hobbled Joel Embiid. Everybody is hurt.
Understood, but when you're being met with a result that doesn't have a precedent in the history of sports, losing Game 7 at home that way, and those numbers are out there on a team that I'm telling you, go look at their point differential this season. Overwhelmingly good basketball team when it was healthy. Not okay, beating everybody in a way that was more consistent than anyone in the sport.
Even when they were unhealthy, they were really good.
Overwhelming offensively. To have that team have 27 points at the end of the first half, where what they score in the second period? Did they score 5 points in the second period? Like they couldn't do anything offensively. I'm like, we can sit here and try and deconstruct it, but if you're going to say, if we're going to do these conversations about the hierarchy of bus drivers, the bus driver on that team is Devin Booker. The star of that team is Devin Booker. And we can crush Chris Paul all you want today.
We should crush Chris Paul. Dan, if they won the championship, the story would be Chris Paul, not Devin Booker. Chris Paul was dreadful, not just in Game 7, the entire series.
Agreed.
After Game 2, he was terrible.
Agreed.
I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. Chris Paul happened, but he was bad after Game 2.
I don't expect too much. Look, you are right to place a high standard on a guy who's one of the great point guards of all time, but he's 37 years old. And when Patrick Beverley is talking about defense, I don't expect Chris Paul to stop anybody, and I don't expect Chris Paul to be able to put up consistent 14 for 14s or 12 for 18s. There are going to be stinkers in there, and he was bad in that series, but I never thought of that as Chris Paul's team. And maybe Chris Paul's story.
Well, that's convenient because when he goes 14 to 14, it's Chris Paul's team, and he's taught Devin Booker everything. And when he doesn't do that, he's injured.
I don't know.
Or something's wrong.
I don't know that Chris Paul taught Devin Booker anything. Chris Paul arrived and made the team a little bit better because they needed a second good player who is, again, 37 years old. These are the times that these stories get told. Phoenix, these windows are very small, Stugotz. I don't know what Phoenix is going to do now with Ayton. They've got to pay him.
But Dan, before he got there, they were 34 and 39 with Devin Booker. Then Chris Paul got there, and then they had the 2 seasons that they've had the last 2 seasons, and it's resulted in nothing.
But you have to allow for the growth of Devin Booker in there as well. It's not just that they added
and Ayton, I guess.
It's not just that they added Chris Paul. Ayton's still under 25, isn't he? Even though he looks 54 years old.
No, they picked Ayton #1 over Luka, same draft class.
Them and the Kings are regretting that when the Kings took Bagley and then Atlanta trading down to get Trae Young and stuff. At least Trae Young and stuff has turned into a conference finals appearance, but those other 2 teams, woof.
It's always been explained to me why Sarver went with Ayton #1, the Arizona ties, the relationship with the agent. They had the Slovenian national coach at the time as their head coach. They had him on the roster.
No, that was funny.
It didn't make any sense to me.
I thought it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to end up there. I thought everybody was predicting that he was going to end up there.
All the Ayton stuff was just smoke. And then Luka then Sacramento came up on the clock. And I'm like, surely the best player in this draft will be drafted here. Nope. And then the Trae Young trade happened. If you watch international basketball, if you watch Real Madrid play basketball, he was destined to be great. I don't understand how someone, knowing where the NBA was going and knowing that you watch international basketball enough to hire the Slovenian national team coach, I don't know how you pass up on Luka.
Well, why wouldn't you, though, do this is a version of the same sort of conversation that we had with Jay Billis about Tyler Hansborough and Michael Beasley. If given the certainties in a thing that's not subjective of basketball player that you think is going to succeed at basketball visually just looking at them. I put Ayton next to you and I put Doncic next to you.
Mm-hmm. I take Bagley.
Yeah, Bagley. That was just the Kings that happened, right?
Yes.
Luka is putting up point totals that are Michael Jordan-ish. Was it 35?
What is he averaging?
It was 35 points in 30 minutes yesterday.
In his playoff career, he is averaging 33 points per game in 26 playoff games across 3 seasons. That's even including the series in which they lost.
There's only one house on that block, and now there's 2.
Yeah. In that series, though, Dan, it's incredible. Like a 7-game series for a guy to go for 33, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Like just and beat the 1 seed on the road by 1 billion points. I mean,
and kind of called his own number earlier this season because they traded Kristaps Porzingis, and it would seem pretty clear that it's just get anything big out of my way. I'll do with Dinwiddie and Bertans, and he has done with Dinwiddie and Bertans
and Brunson.
Right, I mean, Brunson was already there, but they got Dinwiddie and Bertans from Washington.
But Dan said the storyline will be Luka. The other storyline for that team will be Jason Kidd. Like first-year head coach, getting along with Luka, getting the most out of Luka. Whether he is or not, that will be part of the storyline.
Coach of the year in the NBA got out-coached by Jason Kidd, who was a punchline. And because he has this result and a very convincing wired for sound where he was very much coaching them up.
Yes.
He appears to have improved as a head coach.
Well,
Here
also,
to say it.
we will. Well, it's easy to say when
He was always good.
He was
remember?
yelling, "Trap him! Trap him! Trap him! Trap him! Come on!" I was like, "Wow, coaching."
Remember that Coke stunt when he was out of timeouts?
Yeah,
that was awesome.
How could I forget?
Yeah, he's always been a good coach.
That's what you associate with good coaching.
That is good coaching. Is it not good coaching?
Distraction.
He didn't have timeouts, and he pulled one out of his, took us.
Exactly.
He did pull one out of. How much? What was the fine for that? For purposely spilling a soda on the court?
That was an accident.
What are you talking about?
It was great acting. It was.
Was he fined for
50
that?
grand.
Really?
It's That's usually what a soda costs in New York City.
I would say he wasn't fined $50,000. I'd say that day he not only did a great coaching job, but he also raised $50,000 for charity.
What a guy.
Stephen A. Smith did say, I don't give a damn about this kid from Europe. If you're the Phoenix Suns, you have to take DeAndre Ayton. Play the music for Amin El Hassan here as we open our 11 o'clock hour. I've got some questions for him.
Time to talk basketball. Amin knows basketball. He'll teach you basketball. Expert in basketball.
We will get to Stugotz's weekend observations this hour. Funniest thing from the sports weekend will be done before we get out of here. I mean, Boston, Miami, who's better?
Miami.
Why?
Thank you, Stugotz, for that follow-up.
You're welcome.
Because Dan asked me a close-ended question. Boston, Miami, who's better? I gave him the answer. Miami's better because they're deeper, and I think the coaching experience helps here. I think Ime Udoka did a great job in the first two series, but truthfully, he coached against Steve Nash, who's a neophyte as well. In the second round, he coached against Bud, who a year ago around this time, we were all saying he's going to get fired. So this is a different beast that he's dealing with in Eric Spoelstra. The Miami Heat are getting relatively healthy at just the right time. Kyle Lowry's on the mend. I think their depth, I think their experience, and I think most importantly, Eric Spoelstra's experience. Those things are all separators between the Heat and the Celtics.
Why is Boston minus 160?
Because everyone is gassed off of Tatum being amazing in the first two rounds. They obviously beat the Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo, who has been spectacular. He's risen to, I believe, 6th all time in number of 40-10 games in the playoffs, and he's done it in all of 2 postseasons, last year and this year. There's a certain cachet to that, whereas the Heat, people look at them like, well, you beat the Sixers, who are a train wreck. You beat the Hawks, who probably shouldn't even have been there. I think this is all part and parcel with everyone looking at Miami and saying, yeah, they're not that good, because they play a style that isn't as star-centric and star-driven as Boston is, right? Vegas fans, even like NBA personnel, they like the comfort of seeing, I believe, oh, they gave it to him and then he saved the day. They like that. This idea of an egalitarian offense and all that, it kind of it confuses them. So, to me, I look at this series as it's the Heat series to lose. Boston is not going to be easy. They're an incredibly great defensive team, but the reality is there were a lot of missed shots Milwaukee had in those last couple of games. And if we believe Miami to be the best shooting team in the league, which they were during the regular season, then I don't know if those shots fly.
Who's better defensively, Miami or Boston?
I'd say Boston. But, I mean, they've been number one all year long. But if you look at from January 1st to the end of the year, they are number one by a lot from everybody else. And now Miami's a great defensive team too. But I just think Boston is I think they've proven it to me that their ability to lock down and to have a great rotations and schemes. And by the way, to do it even with Robert Williams in and out of the lineup, and he's arguably their best.
Well, this is why I was asking you the question, right? Because numerically, Boston was better the entire season, or certainly the second half of the season defensively. But that is not an insignificant thing that you just mentioned there, and so that's why I was asking the question. Because absent him, are they not a different defense?
No, I mean they've shown to be still very staunch defensively, but obviously he takes away a very important factor to them in terms of being an eraser, right? There's some guys like Al Horford is a great defensive player. Al Horford is going to be in the right place at the right time. He's going to move. He's going to talk. He's going to help. He's going to rotate. But if something goes wrong, Al Horford does not have it in him to say, oh, I know we messed up this defense right here, but I can still save the day and erase our mistakes and still make the defensive play. Robert Williams is that guy. Robert Williams is like, even when we don't do it right, he gives us a chance to still get the stop through his incredible length and athleticism. Not having him, obviously, against a team as potent offensively as the Miami Heat, I think that's going to be an issue. It's going to be problematic for them. But again, he was available for Game 7. He should be available for the rest of the series.
You mentioned, though, what people get used to seeing, and you talk about the one guy or a scorer, this is where the ball is going to go. And you mentioned people aren't used or underestimating Miami because even though they have Jimmy Butler, it might be more democratic than that. But does that team ever get to win? The one without the one guy that everyone knows is the one guy. Like I know the Pistons did it, but not very often that guy gets to win.
But doesn't Miami have the one guy given the presence?
playing pretty good.
Yeah,
Yep,
they
got a
do
guy.
kind of have that. And this Boston matchup does allow for Jimmy to cook a little bit, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. Like we say they don't have the guy, they do have the guy, but for whatever reason, people in the media and otherwise.
yeah, you've been
maybe
telling
some
me for
people-
years they have the guy.
Yeah, he's a superstar. Like again, the last thing that was left was a national commercial. He's the Michelob man.
Right.
Crack open a 40-ounce, let him work. You know, like I don't know how many more times Jimmy Butler has to do it before people say, you know what, he's
Eight
one
to
of
be
us.
exact. Eight more times. Yes, 8 to be
Eight
exact.
more times
yes.
this season. 8 more times in the next couple of months, and he better not lose any of those 8.
By the way, careful what you say about Al. I care about you. And secondly, I'm wondering, how do you imagine they're going to defend Jason Tatum, the Heat? Like, who do you throw at him? Is it Strus? Is it Bam? Is it a combination? How do you imagine that goes?
I think it's exactly what you said. It's a combination. A guy like that, you can't just put one guy on him and expect good things to happen. The more they can switch it up and mix it up on him, the better off they are. I think Jimmy's definitely going to see time on him. I think Strus is going to see time. I think Bam is going to see time. I mean, maybe Caleb Martin finds his way back into the rotation. We're still kind of unclear why he fell out of the rotation, but this would appear to be a time where you need someone who's 6'7" and agile and plays tough defense. If not, maybe we see Victor Oladipo kind of get caught up and make a lot of mistakes, but somehow still win Spo's trust over everybody else. But the reality is it's not going to be one guy, and I don't think it can be one guy because of the how great Tatum is offensively. The other side of this also is they're going to make guys make shots in a way that Milwaukee, I don't think, did as well. So if you want to trot out Derek White, a.k.a. Cordon Bleu, all right, he's going to have to make some shots out there, all right? Like if you want Peyton Pritchard to bellow out, I do this, all right? You're going to have to do this for more than just a couple of shots when you guys are up 20. And I think Miami is better equipped to kind of exploit those kind of defensive issues of guys like Derek White, Marcus Smart offensively, Peyton Pritchard, whatever. Make those guys make plays as opposed to, kind of let themselves get burnt by Tatum and by those guys.
Derek White is a confusing player to me because his metrics when he's on the court are very, very good. But every time I see this guy on the court playing, I'm like, man, I want that guy to shoot so bad.
I was surprised they played him in the second. I thought they were going to sit him in the second half yesterday. I was stunned that he was even out there.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's not a good three-point shooter. Right? Let's just start there. He had a year in San Antonio where I think he shot something like 37%. But other than that year, he's kind of a low 30%. He's definitely a sub 35% three-point shooter. And sub 35% is now at the point where it's like, you know what? You can shoot that all day long, bro. Like, we're going to let you tee off because the effective field goal percentage on that, the expected points per shot on a three-point shot from him, even a wide-open three-point shot, is still way, way better than Jason Tatum's single coverage or Jaylen Brown's single coverage.
I mean, I hate to interrupt in an important time talking basketball, but I've gotten some more information on this whole Max Scherzer incident. It's now an international incident because the person who was shooed away is a Japanese ambassador.
Oh no!
Yeah.
No.
What?
We go to war. Thank old Max.
He was being being rude. You accused him of being a bleep hole.
I didn't accuse it. I said it. I didn't think my mic was on.
Stugotz, what did you want to ask? I mean,
I'm wondering if Middleton is healthy for that entire series. Are the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals?
I think so. I just think it looks different. It's one of those weird things where I'm not saying that Middleton doesn't make a difference. I just think that Boston ends up winning in a different way. And again, I go back to, man, a year ago, we were all in unison. Bud, in playoff situations, coaching, we're not so hot on. And, Zach Harper has a great line about, how Bud doesn't make adjustments. The 4 adjustments he made last year was making sure the best player on the other team got hurt. Right? Bam was hurt, and then Kyrie and James Harden got hurt. And then in the conference finals, Trae Young gets hurt. And then in the finals, Chris Paul and Devin Booker get hurt. That was his adjustments all the way through. And so, we look at that game yesterday and we're shocked. Oh, how could this happen? It's like, well, yeah, they didn't make one change. They just kept barreling headfirst with Giannis, who looked exhausted. Did he even get subbed out in the second half until the very end? So, I mean,
I thought I was surprised by a handful of things yesterday, nothing more so than the Suns. But Giannis being on the court without rest in the third quarter and Tatum sitting the last 8 minutes of the third quarter and the Celtics increasing their lead and Giannis looking exhausted. I'm like, that's right there where it ends. That's where he's not going to quit, but they broke him. They will break him there. He's too tired, and they can't expand their lead when Tatum's in foul trouble and sitting for 8 minutes in the third quarter.
And he's missing bunnies, by the way. I mean, like, that's the biggest red flag of all. This guy who's so amazing around the rim, all of a sudden he's missing these chippies. And to me, that's all. You see it. There were plays where, like, he wouldn't run back on defense. He kind of just, like, take that pause and then do a little jog because, hey, man, it's already up ahead. That's not Giannis. That's not the Giannis we know. And, again, it's not to say that, had he run back, he could have made a play on that. It's to say very clearly he's not feeling himself like himself. So you need to find a way to kind of coast. And now you could say if Chris Middleton were there, could they have done that in those moments? But, again, I look at their offense throughout that game. Like, I don't know if that Chris Middleton would have made a difference.
I want to ask you a question about the Dallas Mavericks defense, which has been a bit of a revelation. A lot better now that Porzingis is out of the way. I was surprised to learn their defensive rating was better than Phoenix's, and this might actually make for a better series against Golden State. Explain to me why.
Well, I mean, I think a better series for one reason and one reason only. It's Luka. That's why. And what we're seeing now is like what we all saw, or not we all shouldn't say it, we all saw. What those of us saw on draft day way back when is like these other guys are going to be great players. I think Trae Young is going to be a great player. I think DeAndre Ayton's going to be a great player. Like, there are all these guys in that draft are like, the Jaren Jackson Jr., there's no shame in picking on any of those guys except for the fact, like, they're great. But that one over there is going to be special. And I think we saw that in this series, and we saw that last night when he scored as much as the entire Phoenix Suns team in the first half. That's not a great player. That is special. We had Bob Voulgaris, noted former, millionaire gambler. I mean, he's still a millionaire. He doesn't gamble anymore. And then former, obviously, Dallas Mavericks front office executive. And, he went to work for Dallas. He didn't have to, but he told Mark Cuban, if you guys take this guy, Luka Doncic, I will come work for you full time. He believed that much. So on the podcast, he asked me and Tom, he said, tell me why Luka's not going to end up the greatest player of the modern era. And we're like, well, defensively. It was like, okay, beyond defense, offensively. Tell me why he's not going to be better than everyone. Better than LeBron, better than Kobe, and it's like when you start to think about it, it's like, I really don't have that many answers. I don't think it's going to happen, but like that's just because I hold those guys at such high esteem. I'm like, it's so hard to climb that mountaintop. But what we saw last night is like, yeah, that's who this guy is going to be. That's who he's been all along since he was an 18-year-old winning MVP of the second toughest league in the world.
Do you have a different appraisal than mine when I say I think Dallas is the worst team remaining in these playoffs, but they have the best player?
They have the best player. I disagree. I think Steph Curry is the best player. I think Steph Curry is the best player remaining in these playoffs. They're the worst team. I guess if I had to rank them 1 through 4, yes, they would be fourth. But that makes it seem like they're unworthy of being there. I think they are.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just I don't think they're unworthy of being there. The second, man, this proved out. Okay, I don't know what happened to Phoenix yesterday, but the second half of the season, Boston and Dallas were better than everyone else. They were just as good as Phoenix was at Phoenix's peak, and Miami was great all season, and Golden State's been great when they're healthy.
Right. By the way, two coaches there, Jason Kidd and Ime Udoka. A lot of people were saying, see, they're not good. We got to fire them. Not so much now, right? Not so much. The people who thought Jason Kidd should never, ever coach again because 5 years ago or whatever, Milwaukee went from being bad to being mediocre or slightly trending towards good under him. And then obviously Bud gets there and they take off. And so people thought that means Jason Kidd can't coach and should never coach again. And that's the thing we talk about all the time in this league, or at least I talk about, is the idea that, man, just like players get better, coaches get better. If a guy coaches a couple of years and then goes away and then becomes an assistant coach somewhere else, whatever, he learns things, he picks up things. And so to write people off based on what their coaching record was the first couple of years they did it in the league is kind of ridiculous.
Whose voice was that? Just voice of people saying? Like,
Yeah, whose voice was that? It sounded like the people that were talking to you. They sounded very nerdy.
Well, it's the voice of Twitter. That's what Twitter sounds like to me.
What does Twitter sound like? Go ahead.
Why are they giving Jason Kidd another chance? Didn't we already figure this out in Milwaukee? Like, that's Twitter.
He's
Twitter
right.
sounds like
He's
that.
right. What do you make of like Doc Rivers, Philadelphia, Daryl Morey saying they're going to bring Doc back?
Oh, this is my favorite story of the playoffs so far, because we talked about this on Basketball Illuminati weeks and weeks ago. Mike D'Antoni is the heir apparent. Doc Rivers trying to angle towards Los Angeles. But here's the deal. If Morey fires Doc, he's got to pay him. And then even after, if Doc gets that Laker job, he's got to pay the offset. There still is some math there, right? If Doc quits, he's not entitled to any of that money, and heaven forbid if he doesn't get the Laker job, and now you're just sitting around and you gave up on all that money. So they're both doing this weird, the producers thing, where it's like one guy wants to quit, but he's not going to do it because he's not going to give up the money. The other guy wants to fire him, but he's not going to do it because he doesn't want to pay out that money. And so they both say, I want to be here forever. Yeah, no, I'll do this for years and years. We're going to win championships together. No, I love you. I don't want to be with anyone else. We're going to go to bed together. Me and him sleeping and say, hey, me and Daryl, we're going to sleep in the same bed. I love this guy.
Wait,
It's the only reason I asked the question.
Well, if you want Doc Rivers, I want to hear Doc Rivers now making moves on Daryl Morey in this bed. Since you're doing the hell yeah thing anyway.
Before I do that, I want to unveil my Daryl Morey impersonation based on solely an interview he did the other day, press availability, where he said, Doc, Elton, and me, we make a great team. I think we're going to win a championship together, and nothing changed my mind about that. I want to be with this guy forever. I want to put a ring on it. Not a championship ring, mind you, but an engagement ring, because this is the person I want to stare into their eyes forever. Can you not tell all the passion and lust in my voice right now? Hey, Daryl, the feeling's mutual. I mean, I want to put on, I'm going to put on some Barry White. Really set the mood, get some candles, get some roses. Maybe put it on mute, but I'll throw on James Harden's greatest hits. Right on YouTube. Let's do this forever.
Dan, the Scherzer situation's getting worse and worse by the minute.
Oh my God!
Not only did he not let an ambassador to Japan throw out the first pitch, it was also Japanese Heritage Night.
Oh no,
Jesus!
Scherzer, middle of a culture war.
150th anniversary of the United States introduction to baseball to Japan.
No.
Yeah,
different culture war.
God.
Scherzer.
When Scherzer has to pitch, though, Dan, he's got to pitch. I mean, that's the deal. It's his mound.
Time now for Stugotz's Stay Right There, weekend observations. We got to segue seamlessly from the other music.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game
A lot
notes.
going on today.
No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories, available for delivery. Dan, this will be the 5th time they have played each other in the playoffs since 2010, and the 3rd time in the conference finals. There is no love loss here, Dan. Intensity, emotion, so many memorable moments, including, of course, the game in 2012. And while Miami has won the last 3 matchups, they know this one is different. They know this time they are facing a player who is nearing the apex of his career, determined to show the world that he's the best basketball player in the world. They know they are facing Al Horford. And Dan, just like that, a rivalry is reborn, and the Heat and Celtics are back.
Yes.
It's different this time, though, Dan.
Because
Even though I think Al was there last time. I had no idea.
I think Al's been there most of the
but
time.
not this Al. This is Apex Al.
This is
Yeah.
Apex Al?
Yeah.
Okay. This is
Stugotz,
Alpha.
I'm a little disappointed you didn't say this time it's personal.
I'm sorry. It's been a long day.
He put the Al in Alpha. He is the leader of that team.
Stephen A. Smith, after the Sixers Game 6 loss, said something smells fishy. Dan, you know what the P in Philadelphia stands for?
Fishy.
Hey, look at you.
It's,
I'm it. Death, taxes, and Stephen A. launching an investigation. He loves to do that.
He does. It's always the verb too. Launching. It's not just conducting an investigation. It's an investigation that must be put in some sort of surface to air vessel.
Also, I love that when Stephen A. is wrong, it's not him being wrong. It's something smells fishy. The GOAT. He's the best ever. He's taking everyone out today.
I was watching the ESPN pregame show prior to the ABC broadcast, and Greeny was setting everybody up for their predictions on what happens in Game 7. And every single person on the panel, Wilbon, Jalen, Stephen A., they were like, well, entering this series, I picked Boston. But then Game 5 happened, and then I picked Milwaukee. But now that it's Game 7, I think it's Boston.
It's so silly.
He's the GOAT.
It's just the predicting of games on television.
Everybody
Why
on that
is
panel,
still the thing.
Everybody on that panel had
mean?
made 3 separate predictions regarding this series.
I'm proud of all of them.
There has to be a better way.
Nope. Clayton Kershaw has landed on the IL. One might say he's rounding into postseason form. The IL. What?
Really glad that they took him out of that no-hitter to save his arm.
I know.
To avoid the IL.
Amazing.
Yeah. Who could have seen this coming?
Yep. The IL, otherwise known as Kershaw's home away from home. Dan, you know what the T in Jason Tatum stands for?
I do not.
It stands for testicles. Disagree, I dare you.
You've been very phallic today.
I have been. Too phallic for my life.
Jimmy Phallic.
Heyo. Headline. Deserved a better fate.
What?
Headline. San Diego Padres signed Robinson Cano to spark offense. Hey, Padres, Robinson Cano hasn't sparked an offense since 2016. The Pods, 5 Game 7s in the first round. Hockey playoffs, best thing in sports.
Just batshit. It's just
5.
It's just batshit crazy. Everything in overtime. Everything decided by a goal. It's nuts.
Playoff hockey is exhausting.
It's the first round. It's the first round, and I just feel like what we should do is just have one guy from one team and another guy from another team just throw the hockey puck at each other's face until somebody is done and gets to advance.
2 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 4 blocks, otherwise known as Al Horford. I mean,
You are the nation's leader in Al Horford coverage.
he won the series for him. The Al Horford game will go down as one of the all-time games in Boston sports
what about
history.
the Grant Williams game?
That will go down as well, but not ahead of the Al Horford game. You don't get to the Grant Williams game without the Al Horford game. You know what I'm saying?
I want to beat these guys so bad.
I know. I mean, I don't care.
Grant
I want
Williams
every
game.
single person to forget the Al Horford game and the Grant Williams game.
They never will.
Because they will if they
Not
get
Boston.
eliminated.
Yeah.
They will.
Stugotz, this is the thing. You mentioned this the other day. You mentioned that moments are not allowed to be moments that stand alone, where Tatum's buzzer beater at the rim against Kyrie Irving in Game 1 is not allowed to resonate unless they win the title. That it becomes forgotten,
Yes.
or more forgotten if they do not continue to win. They need Grant Williams and Al Horford to keep the memory alive of Jason Tatum winning Game 1 in round 1.
You know what game I also want to get out of the way? Jaylen Brown starting the game with 12 straight points and not scoring again to the third quarter. Can we just get that game out of the way too?
There you go.
Didn't we do it yesterday? I thought that we did it
No, you did a
yesterday.
decent
No
game
one has
yesterday.
done that more in my life than Jaylen Brown, and I believe he's 25.
Tim Thomas used to do that.
Oh, all the time.
He'd score like
You're
8
right.
points in the first quarter,
Yes.
and then finish with 12 for the game.
I've never said this player is on pace for 200 points more than Jaylen Brown.
Maybe Tim Thomas, though.
And then, like a quarter and a half goes by.
I thought Toronto still played in the Maple Leaf Gardens. They haven't played a hockey game there since 1999. The Church of Hockey. The Carlton Street Cash Box. What a great name. It's such a great
The
name.
original Maple Leaf Gardens, I believe, is a mall now.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But now it's the Lightning that share the stadium with the Raptors.
That's right. The Panthers should nickname their arena the Bandwagon. I'm sure football has nothing to do with what's going on with Earl Thomas.
It's impossible not to think that, right? Like it's Earl Thomas, I don't know if people have been following the details on this, but he announces that he's going to try to return to football, and then for 2 weeks there's an outstanding warrant for his arrest. After the last time we saw him, right, he was getting into a fight with his wife about some sort of menage a trois situation, allegedly.
Why have I not heard of a quarterback named General Booty until Saturday night? And why did it take a quarterback named General Booty so long to get to a school like Oklahoma? On name alone, I take General Booty to start for the Jets right now. Wouldn't you? I mean, General Booty?
There's not a name in sports that sounds more like a porn.
General Booty reporting to duty, sir, Mr. President. I'm assured by General Booty that the troops are going to come home.
Mitch McConnell doesn't want that.
Mitch McConnell wants General Booty out on the front line.
Dallas Keuchel is a White Sox.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, you didn't know that,
He has been for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's also this huge hoss that plays for Milwaukee, and his first name is Rowdy. Wow. You got to see this guy.
Get out of here.
Rowdy Tellez.
Get out of here.
It,
You're
Billy, are
lying
you
to
familiar
me.
with this Rowdy guy?
Yeah.
He's like
Brewers.
he's one of the league leaders in home runs.
Yeah.
This guy is my guy.
Really?
Oh yeah.
The Brew Crew.
Big giant hacks. He just gets
Big giant Matt stares like porn hacks, a little chubby. Look at his face, round. I thought you were playing for the Brewers at one point, but no, it was Rowdy. He's 255. He's 6'4", 255.
What's he batting?
Oh, for average?
Yeah.
Probably 87.
Joey Gallo.
Wow, 248, not bad by
Wow.
today's standards. He might be an MLB All-Star. Rowdy Tellez.
Bruins and Hurricanes. The rare series that never started. Not bad. Sad.
Dan, have you caught postseason passion?
I have not.
You haven't caught hockey
What?
postseason passion yet?
No, I have not.
What?
caught it
What
yet.
is the sunshine skate going to be the one that gets it out of you? World War II.
I say that again. You want to say
World
that again?
War II.
It's a fine.
Why is that a fine?
It's war.
No, it's rar.
Oh, okay. Oh, no.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a fine for me for not
World
getting the joke,
War
actually.
II. It's
Yeah, it's a
much
fine
better
for
than
Dan, too.
sunshine skate.
Why is it a fine for me?
You didn't catch it.
What didn't I catch?
No, he
The
caught it.
fever. The fever.
Oh yeah, it's a fine for not catching hockey fever.
Not catching the
$35.
Dan, on Saturday night, I watched Jonathan Quick block a puck with his penis. How are you not watching this?
Dick save in a butte.
Jonathan Dick.
I have to stop saying dick. Where was I?
Dick.
Oh. Dick saving a butte, huh? Where was I, though, for real? Unlike Celtics Bucks, which just started 4 times. That's where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got away from me.
Yeah.
Jonathan Dick.
I
Dick
know.
saving a
Yes.
butte.
Mhm.
Something else happened there. Roar.
World War II.
RAWR.
I hate these guys. I hate all of them. Vasilevsky. I'm already resigned to the fact that we're not going to win back-to-back games in this series, so got to win the first one.
You have to.
Because there's no beating Vasilevsky off a
Imperative.
loss.
You're right.
You have to win game one.
Who do you hate more, the Lightning or the Celtics?
Celtics, because that goes back years. I think my least favorite team of all time, and it took a lot to pass those Pistons teams that Dwayne Wade ran into, but my least favorite team of all time was the Big Four, I guess, Celtics team with Rondo, the one that scared the bejesus out of me. I couldn't keep food down for a week entering that game 6, just shitting soup.
But you've had your way with the Celtics.
Yeah.
Tampa's had the best of us.
I think I've only witnessed one postseason series in my adult life, certainly, where the Celtics came out on top, and they've played each other a bunch in the postseason. I hate Tampa more than any other hockey team, but this goes back decades, really, with the Boston Celtics.
The nation's new capital is Sunrise, Florida. D.C., how's it feel to lose to a city where White House refers to most of our houses?
I was annoying DC fans so much just because of my general presence, but also anytime that there was icing, I was like, what happens now? Just really leading into just, why was that? What? What is offside? Huh? I'm just having fun. Where's everybody going? I love hockey.
DC, how does it feel to lose to a city who also prints money, except ours isn't real? The only person at TD Garden who looked like he was on more cocaine than Dana White was Brooke Lopez.
He was blocking everything.
Crazy.
He was swooping in from the heavens. Crazed.
I honestly caught COVID looking at Dana White on TV. I have never seen someone looking more uncomfortable in a 3-second TV cameo than I saw red-faced Dana White coughing and he looked so uncomfortable in his own skin. He was like wearing Dana White.
Since I told Jason Tatum to stop shooting threes, he went 12 of 24 from 3. You're welcome. Stupid take. Oh, no.
You're afraid of the spelling of something in your weekend
Or
observations?
you're saying dick again.
I don't know what I'm doing here. This whole it's the most intimidating sentence I've ever seen. Incredible goal from Wateroo Endo to keep VFB Stuttgart in the Bundesliga. You know what the S in Stuttgart stands for?
I don't.
Scenes.
It's Stuttgart.
Whatever. I mean, the kind of day I've had today, you had to squeeze that one in there. It was that important. You had to. That's okay.
Yeah.
I understand why you did it.
What do you mean, though? Your observations.
You're right. The Cincinnati Reds gave up no hits and lost a baseball game. I feel like I should give them a standing ovation. It's so impressive.
It is.
It is.
It is.
I'm too tired, Dan. You want to give them a standing O, or what do you think?
No.
Okay.
That's okay.
Of course, Steph Curry graduated college over the weekend. He's perfect. Steph needs a mishap in his career. He's never going to go down as one of the all-time greats until he has a little bit of controversy. I'm not talking like do something illegal. Like LeBron had it when he left Cleveland, went to Miami. You need something because his career is too perfect.
Stugotz, I'm surprised you're not jumping on the obvious, which is Steph Curry left Davidson as a junior in 2009, so he had 1 year left. It took him 13 years, including during a pandemic, to finish 1 year of college credits?
Mm-hmm.
Give me a break.
It's been busy, so he didn't forget about it. He went back and got it done.
Busy doing what? Being hurt?
And he did it during the postseason. I mean, pretty good job by Steph.
Do it in the postseason.
He did it.
Graduate in the postseason.
He's going to win. He's going to win and graduate.
Do it
this
in the
guy's
final.
perfect.
Do it in the final.
Just a little something. Traffic violation, anything. I mean.
Graduate degree. Go get a graduate degree, then talk to me.
Yeah.
Get a PhD.
Peyton Pritchard, congratulations. What a town to be the scrappy little white guy. Dan, you know where the buck stops?
Boston.
Game 7.
Hey, good, Dan.
At the feet of a coughing Dana White. So many Whites are coming to Miami, man. Dana White, Derek White, all the Whites are coming.
Plus the white that's here.
All of them, right.
Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Boston must love him so much.
Top 5 scrappy white athletes in Boston history. The pool is so deep, Dan.
It is.
I had to leave out Butch Hobson, Doug Flutie, plus I had to combine 2 guys into one.
Doug Flutie doesn't make the list.
He did not make the list. BC, he did not make the list. Number 5, Jason Varitek. Got to be there. Number 4, Terry O'Reilly. O'Reilly wasn't great at anything. He was good at a bunch of stuff. And Boston loved him. Scrappy. 5-minute majors if you needed one. Send a message. Big goal if you needed one. Big assist. Oh, I love a hockey assist. Number 3, Julian Welker.
Yeah, that is good. You should combine them too. Julian Welker, Amendola.
I didn't think of him. See, the pool is so deep.
Yeah, it is a deep pool.
Number 2, Dustin Pedroia. And number 1, and he'll always be number 1, Danny Ainge. Here come the Halos. City of Miami, especially Live nightclub. Do what you have to do tonight. Thanks. Make sure Tatum's there. There are very few guys in the NBA who are locks to resist the temptation of South Beach. Al Horford is one of those guys.
Al Horford will not be tempted.
He'll be sleeping by 9, Dan.
You're hoping for Liv to rise up and grab Grant Williams tonight?
All of them. Except Al. He won't.
Al won't be there.
No. He'll be trying to tell Tatum and Jaylen Brown, hey, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Then Al will go to sleep because he goes to sleep by 9, okay? Especially on game night, and those guys will sneak out past Al. That's how it works. You'll see. Giannis was the first ever to have 200 points, 100 rebounds, and 50 assists in a playoff series, and he lost. What the hell? Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
Billy, any more Scherzer updates? Any more information for us? We'll get to funniest thing from the sports weekend in the post-game show, but I need the international incident involving Max Scherzer updated as often and as much as possible. And Stugotz, we've got an update in the broadcasting movements and wars. Drew Brees is out at NBC. Drew Brees, and we were talking, a lot of people last week thought I was hating on Tom Brady's contract when I don't get jealous of anybody else's money, but a whole lot of people on social media were calling me jelly. Somebody was jelly ASF. I was jelly ASF. And my only point, it doesn't mean to hate on him. I thought I was saying something that was matter of fact. He's not someone in front of microphones who has been interesting, and he doesn't have any experience in that job, and you gave him $375 million. And Exhibit A, Drew Brees. Drew Brees, that was actually more interesting in a microphone during his career than Tom Brady was. Drew Brees comes in with plenty of credentials, and after a year now, he says he's weighing all his options. He might go football. He's trying to put the spin on this that they're not letting him go because he failed.
He did update it saying the football stuff he was just joking around. The other stuff he is serious about.
Damn, I had him in the XFL. Look, it worked one time with Tony Romo, where we didn't know what to expect. Is this guy going to be good at this? How is he getting the number one spot? And since then, Witten happened, and now Drew Brees. And Drew Brees, I think everybody kind of thought was going to work, and it flatly didn't. It's actually amazing to me how quickly networks can get out from under these contracts. And it does apply some concern to the Tom Brady thing, because he just set the market, and we don't really know how that's going to go.
But I wasn't actually intending to apply concern. I was just awed by it. I'm awed by the idea that someone can make that money with no experience in a job and with no proof that he can do it well. I'm not used to seeing that, never mind in the meritocracy of sports, anywhere. Anywhere in business, I'm not used to seeing, hey, you've got no experience. Here's $375 million to do something. Maybe you're good at it. Maybe you're not. I don't know. But Drew Brees just failed, and now is going to spin it because Drew Brees has done damage to whatever it is that Drew Brees, legacy quarterback.
Yeah.
Drew Brees was going to be one of the guys who brought in the next 10 years of football as a bridge because they want all their Mannings on television, all the Bradys on television. They want all these guys bridging to the future. Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, whatever it is that's coming in the future at the position, they want these guys as the bridge. And Drew Brees just failed. And I didn't think it could happen that fast. And I didn't think it would be that hard, and I didn't think he would fail because it's not that hard a job. It really isn't. Drew Brees.
Well, there's not many people who are good at it.
Dude,
I would say it's a very difficult
It is
job.
a hard job. You've slandered it by calling it a part-time job, and I can follow you there. But being good on television is not an easy thing to do. We've seen so many all-time greats really struggle at it.
Drew Brees was not supposed to be one of them, and when I say it's not that hard of a job, I don't know the windows that he was working in at NBC, but his job wasn't even the Romo job. Like his job
He was a studio analyst.
he did both. He did
Well,
both.
I think he wanted that to be his job, and I think NBC decided after a year of him doing Notre Dame and the one playoff game, which got some poor media criticism, that they weren't ready to put him in the Sunday Night Football booth. They extended Chris Collinsworth and gave him what seems now like a budget deal at $11 million a year for Chris Collinsworth. But NBC decided...
Who's better than all of them, by the way.
Well, NBC decided we want to keep Collinsworth. Amazon decided to go with Herb Street. Fox decided to go with Tom Brady and maybe Greg Olson. So the musical chairs are kind of running out. And so Drew Brees might have to go be like a number 2 somewhere and get better at this. Like Amin said earlier, you can get better at being an analyst. Like Troy Aikman, I think, has gotten considerably better in like year 20 and 21 of being an analyst. His last couple seasons have been much better, in my opinion, than what preceded it. So
he's here.
He can
He's
get
here
better at it.
He is here, whether it's abs or elsewhere. Aikman's here to compete. He is here to get better at those things.
He's being pushed now.
He specifically wanted more than Romo, and then Brady doubled him.
I do see that Drew Brees has a ceiling, though, that he hasn't come close to meeting. And you do want someone that's played in a modern age offense to be able to talk about where the position is now and where it's headed. To give up and punt on him in a year where I actually think, because Tirico worked next to him on those Notre Dame games, it might have been a good spot and refreshing to see a 3-man booth when everyone else is going 2-man. But they just decided not for us.
I just want to place in front of all of you how much more of a winner Tom Brady is at all things than even the winners. Breeze, you're gone in a year. Brady, you haven't done it. Here's 10 years guaranteed. Here's 10 years guaranteed for more money than anyone. That's Drew Brees, Stugotz. He's got more touchdowns than anyone ever, does he not? Does he not hold some of those records that are the ones that Tom Brady doesn't own?
I mean, yeah, he was a good quarterback, but I mean, that doesn't translate into, to Mike's point, I think it's a difficult job. You've seen Jerry Rice try to do some of it. You've seen Emmitt Smith try to do some of it. You've seen Jason Witten. It's not an easy job. It really, what makes Tony Romo so great is that somehow, and I still don't know how he does it, because he played quarterback his entire life, how he sits in a booth with Jim Nantz and presents the game the way me and my friends are discussing it in my house. It's insane how good he is at it.
And even Dan laid the sword down once he realized, yeah, you're right. Tom Brady's allowed to set the watermark for someone that we don't know if they're good at this.
But I can only be awed by it because look at what just happened to Drew Brees. Drew Brees was supposed to be polished. Drew Brees was preparing for this moment. Drew Brees is very interested in what his legacy is going to be like after football. Drew Brees is very competitive. Drew Brees just took a hit where he's putting out there, hey, I can go back to NBC in what capacity?
Does coach in waiting or broadcaster in waiting ever work? They crowned Drew Brees color commentator in waiting, and it just doesn't end up working for these folks. Brady, though, truly, I think will shine. He is more interesting now than he's not in New England. I think he'll be good, and I'm not just saying that because he tweeted at me over the weekend.
Jalen Rose was
He
broadcaster in waiting. That worked. Draymond Green, I think we're all watching it real time.
That's a great one. Well, yeah, Jalen worked. I was going to say something, but it worked.
He's got a 15-year.
He's had a very long career.
He's been on like 10 different iterations of the ESPN NBA studio show.
Yes.
So
yeah,
he's
Nick
a
Khan
constant, by the
a
way.
great agent.
If you look at
The one constant throughout time is Jalen Rose.
Nick Constant.